I wanted to do just a quick react to the Iced Coffee Hour interview podcast with Peter Schiff. Um, I've followed Peter Schiff for a while now because, I'm invested into silver specifically, but, the metal space. Um, and it's been performing great the past, year and a half now, 2 years. Um, but I highly recommend listening to the podcast. I would say, change the playback speed to maybe 1.5 to 2x. That's just something I've been doing lately with like all the videos I've been watching. Um, as long as you just pay attention, you can absorb the information a lot faster. You turn this 2 hour podcast into an hour. I would put this video that you're listening to right now, if you're listening to it, on 2x. Because I like to ramble. I'm not the fastest talker. Um, it just makes it's more efficient at the end of the day. I digress. Um, the podcast. I thought it was great. So I'm going to talk about, the little timestamps here. He gives his gold price prediction, not really, but thinks, it'll get to $6,000 by the end of this year. Um, not in the grand scheme of things too far off. Like I've said in other videos, everyone's price predictions are just subjective. Um, the next one, would he change his mind about Bitcoin? So, very, I guess, anti Bitcoin, just not a real believer in the utility, which, after listening to what he said, there really isn't a ton of utility. Most cryptos don't, but Bitcoin specifically, and you can go to a convenience store and they got a little Bitcoin ATM, and some of them, you can buy some stuff with Bitcoin. You can trade Bitcoin or transact Bitcoin with other people. I think where it has the most utility or uh, practicality is that it can be held as a reserve. Um, and a lot of people are speculating the price to continue to go up. As a result, more people buy it, and then the price goes up. I thought it was interesting. He mentioned without the big winners, there's got to be losers at the same time, and that's with everything. So the person that bought Bitcoin at $1,000 and sold it at $120,000. The person that bought it at $120,000 and sold at $100,000 or $60,000, wherever it's at right now, is the loser. The same thing could go with silver, gold. You know what I mean? Someone bought at $100 an ounce. Someone bought at $5,000 an ounce. One sold on the high. Another one that bought at the high is on the downtrend right now. At the end of the day, you're not a loser if you just hold on to it and you haven't sold it yet. So that's one way to look at it as well. Doesn't really believe there's any pro Bitcoin arguments. Could he be wrong about Bitcoin? He doesn't think so. He's very firm on it. And someone in the comment section said, wouldn't be surprised if he owns a little bit of Bitcoin. And tinfoil hat me thinks that too. As much crap as you want to talk on it. And he had no regret either. He knew about Bitcoin when it was, first coming out, and, could have bought it at like $1, whatever it was, $5, $10. And said he didn't. Again, maybe he did, and we'll never know. But maybe he's one of the huge whales that owns a ton of it, and he's just trying to not share that. Who knows? But I think he definitely had some regret if he didn't buy any back then and he knew about it. I wish I knew about it. I was in high school. I couldn't even have a wallet or anything set up at that time. I was also focused on just being a high school kid. But I think what's great, and I mentioned this in a previous videos, high school kids now, with the access they have, they can start investing and stuff and getting into finances at that early age, which I wish I could have done. Is what it is. He talked about his issues with Trump and stuff like that. Did vote for Trump and things, and is all for Trump at the time of the election, and made some recommendations and things like that. I don't really get into the politics that much. Talks about inflation, kind of preparing people what happens if the dollar fails. Talks about his own wealth building and dollar crisis. I'm not going to get into all of these. Again, watch the podcast. It's great. Um, the Fort Knox conspiracy, no gold in Fort Knox. That was, I think, all the rage a year ago. His son's investments, don't really care for that. He still, even at his age, still wants to grow and, common investor business related stuff. Um, Gets back at the end, kind of concludes with, could he be wrong about Bitcoin? He doesn't think so. And kind of makes some price predictions, thinks, once it gets down to 50K, the next floor or whatever will be like 20K, and then it'll just kind of continue to go down from there. Hey, anything's possible at the end of the day. Um, do I think that could happen? Maybe. I think it's a very small chance, but I'm no master of the craft of crypto. I primarily just bought into XRP because I know it actually has utility. You know what I mean? Things are going to get adopted with the banking system and things like that. Um, Again, tinfoil hat, but um, you know, you just got to be patient. And I think a lot of people right now are just impatient. They want the quick profit now, And that's why there's so much gambling and stuff now. Gambling. Even Pokemon now is, people are buying packs, like trying to hit those big cards to, make a quick, $1,000, $2,000. Things like that. Same with crypto, you know what I mean? People are just trying to make the speculation plays with all these meme coins and stuff, like Peanut the Squirrel, Doge coin back in the day, like all these things. Um, but a lot of people fail doing that because they just don't understand it. And that's why 99% of them lose money. The 1% that profit and get rich from it, great, good for them. But you really got to hone into learning things and day trading too. A lot of options trading and stuff like that. People are getting into now because you can make a lot of money doing that, but you got to know what you're doing. And a lot of people don't take the time to learn these things, and that's the problem. I tried doing some day trading, but I just didn't really have a passion or care to really learn it fully. So it didn't really work out for me. Um, the same thing with gambling, you know what I mean? If you're good at sports, the players and stuff like that, and like the Vegas point spreads and things, you can make money doing it. But if you don't really learn it and you just are hopping on the bandwagon because that's the thing to do, you're probably going to lose money. You might win a few, but for the most part, you're going to lose money. You're going to go in the red. That's why I've been focusing on Pokemon, XRP, and Pokemon XRP and Silver. Those are the things that, I've honed in and tried to learn to master. And, XRP specifically, which is the last thing I want to mention about this podcast, is that XRP wasn't mentioned. And maybe Peter Schiff just wouldn't believe in it and said it's stupid, just like every other crypto. But I just go back to this like Elon Musk interview thing he had where like someone from the crowd asked him about XRP and he kind of froze and didn't know what to say. And I listen to like these big podcasts when crypto's being talked about and it's like no mention of XRP. And maybe people listening to this are like, yeah, dude, XRP is stupid. Like, why would they mention it? But it's not. Maybe it just wasn't addressed in this because it just didn't come up, or maybe because, they don't want to bring more attention to XRP. I don't know. But I know things are coming with XRP. Obviously, people have been saying that for years and years now. Everyone's saying it's coming, and nothing's came yet. But that's where patience comes in. At the end of the day, you got to learn to be patient. We had a good run during the Trump election. Obviously, gone down since then. But I follow this guy on YouTube Multimedia, and he really breaks down what's going on in the world of XRP very well. I don't really care for the thumbnails and these price predictions, XRP 1,000, things like that. I just care for the content at the end of the day. And I mentioned that with Silver. I follow a bunch of Silver people on YouTube and Pokemon people, like, you know what I mean? you got to divulge into the world of the things you're interested in learning to better your future, your financial future, whatever it is. But yeah, just a quick rant. I don't want to go on too much more. Really listen to the podcast. I think you'll learn a lot from it. But at the end of the day, do what's right for you. Just continue to learn at the end of the day as well. Just absorb all this information, and it'll better your financial future. It really will. So leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are interested in. What are you investing into? What am I missing? Constructive criticism, also. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.